The first chapter of Evolution of Dog Training is understanding the world of dogs. It's important that we understand where training came from and where it's going so that we can understand why it's important to change. Traditional training is based on correction, so it's based on using a choke, a pinch, and a shock collar, or any other kind of aversive methods to stop something from happening. So when we are training our dogs, we're always looking for what they did wrong, and they have to try to avoid being punished. And that's a really stressful way to learn because they don't get a chance to really relax while they're doing the training. They have to stay always kind of guessing. And the other problem with traditional training is oftentimes if we make a mistake, we may inadvertently hurt them or correct them even when they did something right. And although I have used traditional training when I was a teenager and just started really getting into training, I never really liked it. And I've seen a lot of problems happen when people use traditional training. I have seen out in public, I was watching somebody and their dog was sitting nicely, but the person inadvertently popped the choke chain. And so then the dog stood up, probably not knowing why they got into trouble. And then the person realized they were standing and they popped them again because they were standing. Then the dog was at a loss. They didn't know if they should be sitting or standing. Another thing that happens is we don't always teach in traditional training. You're not teaching them how to sit or how to down. You're just correcting them when they're doing the wrong behavior, but they don't always know what the right behavior is. So by using positive training and force-free training, what we do is we teach them exactly what we want them to do rather than making them guess all the time if they're right or not. And when we're using positive training, if we make a mistake and accidentally give them a treat when they didn't sit, that's not going to cause any kind of emotional damage. It's not going to affect them as negatively as if we popped them with a choke chain on accident. The other part of the world of how the world of dog training has changed is over the years it has developed, and we are actually doing studies now, and we watch and we look and we use science to see how does this method affect the dogs. We are doing MRIs on dogs, and we are checking blood levels and cortisol levels and hormone levels to see how these different things affect them. We're also watching body language, which we never did before. So the world of dog training is really changing and really starting to look at what's best. Just like you or I, if we're stressed or unsure, we're not going to be able to learn as well as if we are relaxed or having fun. So over the years, we've been doing these different kinds of studies. There are studies that were from the past, and things like if you've heard of the alpha theory or the dominance theory, and the big study that was done that really brought alpha theory and dominance theory into the dog world was actually done on wolves in captivity. It didn't take long for the men who did that study to realize that their study wasn't very accurate. It wasn't even very accurate for wolves, let alone for dogs. And they spent many years trying to say, don't listen to that old study. Unfortunately, sometimes things stick and it gets in our culture. And it's the way that we believe it. If it's the way we did it in the past, we should do it in the future. And it's important for us to realize that things change. Just like medicine has changed, just like cars have changed. You know, in the 50s, it was unheard of to have a dad stay at home with their kids. But now there are many at-home dads. We didn't have computers 100 years ago. We now have cell phones that are basically computers in our pockets, which we didn't have before. So as the world changes, it's important to keep an open mind, because dog training has changed too. And a lot of these studies are really helping us understand our dogs and the best way to train them. So by learning our history and knowing the past, but then also knowing where dog training is going in the future, it really helps us be better dog owners, be better dog trainers, veterinarians, groomers, anyone who is face to face with a dog, let alone an animal, If you understand positive reinforcement, you're going to have a stronger bond, your training's going to go better, and there's going to be a lot less stress. It's not uncommon in the past that when dogs were aggressive or having major behavior problems, we just kept punishing them. But what we ended up finding out is that that actually sometimes made the behavior even worse. So we don't want to make our dog's behavior worse. We want them to be better. And our dogs are now part of our family. And as we are learning more about training, it's important that we keep an open mind and keep learning, because the more that we have studies, the better we can be for our dogs. So I hope you enjoy this first chapter of the evolution of dog training, and we'll look forward to seeing you in chapter 2.